I was 11 the first time I saw him. The Withered Man. We had just moved into a crumbling old house in rural Pennsylvania, a relic from another century. The floors creaked like old bones, the walls groaned at night, and the attic door never stayed shut, no matter how many times we locked it. My parents said it was just the wind. I wasn't so sure. It started small. Things went missing, keys, toys, even a full plate of food once. My mother blamed mice. My father blamed my overactive imagination. But then I saw him. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of something dripping. It wasn't raining. My room was at the top of the house, just beneath the attic. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, and that's when I noticed the closet door was open. I always shut it before going to sleep. The air was thick, heavy, and there was a smell. Damp earth and something rotten. And then, he stepped out of the shadows. He was tall, impossibly tall. His body hunched as if his spine had been folded in half. His skin looked like old parchment stretched too thin over his bones. His face was long, hollow, and the sockets where his eyes should have been were empty. And he was dripping. Thick black liquid oozed from his fingers, his mouth, and the deep sunken pits of his eyes. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. He took one step toward me, and I finally found my voice. I screamed, loud enough to wake the dead. By the time my parents rushed in, he was gone. But the closet door was still open, and the floor was wet. They told me it was a nightmare, that I was just adjusting to the new house. But I knew better. The Withered Man was real. The visitations continued. He never spoke, never made a sound beyond the wet drip of whatever oozed from his body. But he got closer each time. The worst was the night he reached out. I woke to find him standing at the foot of my bed, his elongated fingers stretching toward me, that black liquid pooling onto my sheets. When his hand touched my ankle, I felt it. Cold, burning cold, like something dead had just clutched my skin. I screamed, kicked, and scrambled backward, and then, just as before, he was gone when my parents arrived. The next morning, there were bruises in the shape of long fingers wrapped around my ankle. My parents couldn't explain them. I stopped sleeping. I would sit awake for hours, staring at my closet, waiting for him to come again. And he always did, until the night I ran. It was a stormy night, the kind where the wind howled through the trees and the whole house shuddered under the force of the rain. I sat curled up in bed, blankets pulled to my chin, watching the closet. The shadows felt deeper than before, darker. Then I heard it, the creak of the closet door. My breath caught in my throat, and he emerged. This time he moved faster. His long, spindly arms reached out as he dragged himself toward me, black liquid splattering against the floor. His hollow sockets locked onto me, empty but somehow filled with a terrible hunger. I couldn't take it anymore. I bolted. I ran down the stairs, skipping 3 at a time, ignoring the way the shadows twisted and reached for me. My parents' room was too far. The front door was closer. I didn't care that it was storming outside. I just needed to escape. I yanked open the front door and froze. He was there, not in my room, not in the closet, but outside, standing in the rain, waiting. His head tilted slightly, and he lifted one dripping hand, curling his fingers in a beckoning motion. The black liquid smeared down his arm, pooling at his feet. I screamed, and then everything went dark. I woke up in my bed, my parents hovering over me. They said they found me unconscious by the front door, that I must have been sleepwalking. But I knew the truth. The Withered Man had let me go. That was the last time I saw him. We moved a few months later. I didn't argue. I didn't tell my parents what had really happened. I just left and never looked back. But sometimes late at night, when I wake up to silence so thick it feels unnatural, I wonder, did he let me go? Or is he still waiting?